Hello, loves. We have entered into the realm of Inanna, the great goddess of the underworld, who descends and is stripped layer by layer of all of the pieces of her identity that she had clung to in order to be stripped bare in the underworld and hung up on a meat hook so that she could come to know her true power and who she truly is. We explored how Venus, the planet, is Inanna. And that Inanna story, which is the oldest written story, one of the oldest written stories in human history. Just first of all, just sit with that. Inanna from Sumeria, one of the oldest written stories. This is how important the goddess was for our people. And she is a personification of the planet Venus. All gods and goddesses are personifications of nature. That is what they are. That is humans' attempt to understand ourselves in this complex and beautiful world that is always mirroring our own inner world. As within, so without. So Venus is the star that descends into the underworld and goes through the 7 chakra gates, and in order to ultimately rise back up as the morning star. And you will hear more about this in Mariana's presentation of feminine astrology. But we also dove into, okay, cool. So if underworld journey is the process of feminine awakening, which it is, then what do we need to know? And I would love to give you a quick overview here. So even if you watched or were live at the ritual, I do invite you to watch this quick recap because we're going to cover more here than we did in session together. And this is all just fruit and fodder for you to be in your own sacred reflection on your process and to gain tools and support for anchoring in the underworld journey that is inevitable. That is part of finding our truth and our power. So here we are, and your sacred wound. So let's be clear. I am bringing up wounds because they are the pathway to awakening. So we could just as easily use the word feminine awakening, your sacred feminine awakening. It's not always cozy and comfy. That's just the reality. It is the way that we alchemize poison into medicine for the world and for ourselves. It is perfectly designed. It is your bullshit that is perfectly designed to connect you with your purpose in this lifetime. And by bullshit, it could certainly be your own internal process, but it is also the challenges that are inherent in your family, your work life, all that jazz. And your sacred wound holds your true power, your purpose, and liberates your golden shadow. Now we have a constant choice. We can ask why me, which is victim consciousness, or we can take the approach, life is happening for me. This is all for my awakening. Now, your purpose is a big, wide circle, and your comfort zone is a smaller circle. So in order to dive in fully to your purpose, which is a never-ending process, which is our soul's journey over many lifetimes, we do need to get out of our comfort zone and to expand our comfort zone as a result, so that we are comfortable in the underworld. We are comfortable with our demons. The demons of our within are, of course, always the demons without. They are what we project out into the world so we can deal with this, so we can work through this. And the intention of talking about wounding here, I want to be really clear, is so that we can never unsee victim consciousness in our life, because it is our choice to enter consciously into the underworld or to enter unconsciously into the underworld. You don't have a choice of going to the underworld. It is the path of your life. You can resist and kick and scream, and you will suffer. So we are instead seeking the grace of the feminine in entering consciously into these life challenges. Now, the first step in prep for the underworld is we want a giant breath of compassion. That was like a pretty intense breath on my part. I suggest you slow that breath down, sister. And we did slow it down in live together. We want to practice metta and ho'oponopono. These are both practices that are in your folder. These are self-compassion practices because when we are in the underworld, we do need a heavy dose of self-compassion. It is not bravery that is our primary gift and our primary safeguard in the underworld. It is compassion. Compassion is the key to seeing our deepest wounds and to healing them. Mystery School is a descent into feminine power. It is a journey into your fullest expression, your fullest purpose. And so we need to know, when are we out of our power and how do we get our power back? Welcome to the Cartman Drama Triangle. This has been so life-changing for me. When there are three ways where we lose our power, we are either in victim, all of it's victim, but we are either in victim, we are in rescuer mode, or we are in villain mode or perpetrator mode. And the thing about the drama triangle is that it is whatever role you're in, you're just going to keep popping into all the other roles so long as you're playing this game. So long as you're hanging out in the drama triangle, you're not just hanging out in one, you're going to be mixing and matching even in one conversation with your partner. So the best way to empower ourselves is to leave the drama triangle. Yeah. So the victim, maybe the most commonly known in the drama triangle, is the freeze or fawn nervous system response. This is the why me. This is where phrases like should, can't, and have to come in, or complaining as a form of connection and self-soothing. The rescuer is the helper. If you're a real helper, you're a healer. This, we can think, oh, I'm just trying to help. I'm not for advice. I'm just trying to help. But in fact, that's really the flight nervous system reaction when we are uncomfortable with something being misaligned to how we think it should be. This actually creates a victim. When we rescue, we actually create a victim, or we play into someone's victim. And the villain is that part of ourselves that actually points fingers, that I always think the other is the problem and we have to like make things right. Or when it's that external source of power that's responsible for your suffering. So a great example of this is, what is your biggest like trigger in terms of your global activism? So for me, it's like when I think about the earth being polluted and damaged, it angers me. It puts me into collapse if I'm not careful. And it is me moving into victim mode, and also like flighting into action in rescuer mode. And then the villain is what? Like the corporations, the governments, unconscious people. So a way to step out of the triangle and take back our power is transformational mantras. So anytime we find that we're in one of these, we can notice that we're in a trigger. That is always the first step to increase our awareness. That is, and that will give us a sign that there's a boundary violation and we need to do something about it. We need to take space. We need to step back into our own truth versus getting caught up in the situation. And the victim response, the transformational mantra, I am radically responsible for my experience. I always have a choice. I always have a choice of how I perceive a situation. Even if I was on my deathbed, even if I had a gun to my head, I would still have a choice of how I am receiving and perceiving the situation. The rescuer's transformational mantra, I can never know what is best for someone else. When we think we are fixing a problem for someone, we are helping someone, often it's actually just about us. I mean, really always, it's just about us. Like that, the idea that we're actually doing something out of a pure completely pure motive is just actually not even real for like what human, like just for what humans are. Like we are beings designed to survive. So it's really important to notice the places where we're just trying to overhelp and overcompensate, and to just acknowledge like that's their thing, that's their journey, or I don't need everything to be the way I want it to be. The villain, when we find ourselves in a fight mode, or like angry activists, right? Or angry at an injustice, we can still empower ourselves. I don't need anyone to be bad and wrong to choose what's wrong, what's best for me. So, you know, this person did this violent thing, and like that's their painful internal wounding. And I'm going to do my best now to turn inward and look at what I can do to work on me, look at what I can do to take responsibility in this situation. Because whatever we see outside of us is also occurring within us. And that doesn't mean we don't set healthy boundaries at all. In fact, all of this is empowering us into our sacred masculine. The intention of talking about wounds is to make sure we can never unsee victim consciousness in our lives. So this isn't to harp on, you're so wounded, you're a victim, you know, to get into like, these are all the things that are wrong with you. It is to say, we are trying to increase our awareness. We're trying to see where we are not meeting life with our heart, where we are closing to love. So when we get in preparation for the underworld, we want to make sure we're taking a giant breath of compassion again and again and again and again. We want to have practices like the Metta Bhavana from the Buddhist lineage, Ho'oponopono practice from the Kahuna Hawaiian lineage, and both of those are in your content. Now, signs, how will we know? This is a little cheat sheet. How will you know if you're in victim consciousness? You use words like, I have to, I can't, or I should. Kelly Brogan says, trying to get eggs from the hardware store. If you are with a partner and you want unconditional love and all they can give you is sex, you are trying to get eggs from the hardware store, my friend. If you need affirmation from your boss and you ask for it and they can't give it to you, you need to reevaluate. What is this a true need? Because if so, you need to get your needs met elsewhere, or you need to leave that job. Don't try to get eggs from the hardware store. Needing to fix people or situations, as I mentioned already, it is not your job to save the world. It is not your job to save other people. It is not your job to save your husband, to save your partner, to save your kids. They are on their path. We can acknowledge that they are on their unique path instead of getting pulled out of our center into our victim mode, which is actually the fixer or rescuer mode. It is a very tricky one to catch, particularly for those of us who are healers or nurturers. The idea that you are a savior to the rescue, same thing, very related here. Yes, there is no one to rescue except yourself, sister. You are the only one that needs rescuing here. Empower the people around you to be on their path. Complaint as connection. Oh, I'm gonna lose 5 pounds, or whatever bullshit women say that I don't even know anymore, because I gave that up many years ago on my underworld journey and do not have people around me that say that anymore. And when I do, I say, sister, don't talk about yourself like that. You're my friend, and I don't let people talk about my friends like that. So we can focus instead on gratitude, unconscious expectations. So if you're gonna help someone, but you really want to get the acknowledgement for being the helper, that is called the covert exchange, according to Kelly Brogan, who is genius in this realm. Releasing attachment to the outcome of your actions is going to be one way to empower yourself out of victim consciousness. Scarcity and entitlement. The reality is we live in an abundant universe. Scarcity is a myth. It is a story that we are telling ourselves. Anytime we are in scarcity, we can step out of that and take radical responsibility for our experience and the abundance of this world and our incredible lives. Any sense of entitlement. I am entitled to gratitude. I am entitled to money. I am entitled to love from this person. We know we're in victim. We can heal victim by letting go of the needing to fix or rescue others. We can focus on gratitude versus complaining. We can watch our language very closely. A quote I have hanging in my car, it's the only decoration I have in my car, is a Hafez quote that says, "The words you speak are the house you live in." And it is a reference to spell casting. Your words are spells. So get rid of "I have to," "I should," and instead, I get to. I get to do the laundry. I get to do my underworld dirty work. We can recognize, accept, and respect the incompatibility of our needs and walk away. So if your boss can't give you what you need, if your partner can't give you what you need, stop trying to get eggs from the hardware store, sister, and just own what you desire, own your desires, which brings us into acknowledge your needs, acknowledge your desires, know what you need, know what you desire, and fucking claim it, own it, and don't settle. Take responsibility to do what you need to do to move towards getting your needs met, even if that means there's a purification that has to happen in your life with the people around you or the jobs around you or whatever it is. And experiencing excitement in the face of the underworld journey. This is my favorite. And I share about this in our gathering, like my own money journey of healing my own money stuff. It's like, now I'm at a point where I'm just so excited whenever like fear or worry comes up in my consciousness, because I'm just like, oh yeah, that's for me. That's my sacred journey for my path. And like every time I heal more of that, every time I awaken more to the truth, I am regaining my power. I'm ascending the chakras as Inanna. Now, the challenge of healing ancestral wounds is that we may unconsciously feel like we're betraying our family. And it may even cause rejection by our family, triggering rage about unconscious and triggering their rage or sadness about unconscious ancestral wounds and life unlived. That's just real, love. That's just real. On your healing path, you will be in a process of purification. You will shed all kinds of things from your physical body, from your mental, emotional body, and yes, from your relationships as well. And we can set the intention for connection and healthy communication, nonviolent communication. So we do need women around us who are safe mirrors, because the mother wound is strong. And when we are confronted with our own mother wounds, we're really confronting the ways we keep ourselves small in the way our mothers kept themselves small. And maybe didn't even have a choice, didn't have the same choice. They always had a choice, right? They didn't have the same awareness that we have now. And yet they brought us here. So we need women around who are mentors and mirrors. It is an essential part of healing the mother wound. What else do I have for you, loves? Yes, meet your greatest superpower on the path of healing victim consciousness. Embodiment. The victim triangle keeps us stuck in stress physiology. It is a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn game. It is when our nervous system is dysregulated and we cannot think clearly. So we want to get back in our bodies, back in our sensation, in order to empower ourselves and the world to think clearly and see clearly and to meet challenge with presence. The most essential form of activism on this planet is to get centered into our calm body. Hear that again. The most essential form of activism is getting centered into our calm body. This is where nervous system mastery comes in and is imperative. Next greatest superpower, choice. You always have a choice. This is the opposite of victim, is taking responsibility to respond to your circumstances versus to react. You always have a choice to take radical responsibility for your experience, but when you don't think you have a choice, you don't. You are caught in an unconscious victim pattern. I don't recommend it. It's the cycle of hell. And it is like where most of our world is operating from right now. But not you, my friend. You are ascending into your descending into the underworld to ascend and to serve the light, to serve the love through the underworld journey, through embracing the dark feminine in all of her purification and truth-speaking power. And that, my loves, is the tools that you're going to need if you want to be a badass, feminine, awakened Venus goddess. And if you want to step fully into your purpose in this lifetime, you are going to need to not be hanging out in victim consciousness. And most of all, you are going to need so much self-compassion. And that is what we are all here for, each other. We are here to offer and mirror radical self-acceptance, radical responsibility, and radical self-love for each other. We are the future. We are the way that women will be just raised in who knows, in maybe 2 generations, maybe 5 generations, maybe 10. We are the vanguard, and we are reclaiming our deepest empowerment instead of our victim consciousness. Thank you for being that radical activist by choosing your body versus